104.7 The K. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens in the studio. It is Dark Side of the Stream, episode 195. This week was Jay's pick. It's a docu-series on Max called In the Eye of the Storm. And we've seen a lot of really cool storm documentaries in the past, storm shows. Of course, I love Twister. I haven't seen the new Twister yet. I don't know why the hell you would remake that movie. There's no need for that. But yes, it's doing good, and everyone says it's good. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll see it. Either way, that's not the point. This entire docu-series is literally found footage. They have some interviews, but when it comes down to all of the storms that they're talking about, whether it's the derecho, all the tornadoes that hit the Midwest, or the fire in Maui, it literally is all created using cell phone footage. And it happens in real time.
Yeah.
So there are some incredible stories about this, and we will get into that down the road. But first, Jay and I both have a lot of storm experiences. And if you knew this or didn't know this, I'm going to tell you this right now. Jay actually lived in New Orleans during Katrina.
Yes.
So let's talk about your Katrina escape plan, my friend.
Well, we were going to stay. I've probably told this before. We were going to stay in New Orleans. And that morning I woke up and the boss of the radio station was like, dude, I know you're planning on staying and going on the air. Get out of town. And I put the TV on, and I was just headed for the city. So, yeah, there was no gas in any of the gas stations. Finally, some dude clued me in. There was one pump that still worked. So we loaded everything in the car and sat bumper to bumper traffic. It took us 6 hours to go 100 miles. They turned all the lanes of the freeways, both ways, all out. So you could go on either side of the freeway and drive out, but that's how long it took us just to get to Mississippi. And that's where we got stuck for a couple of days. The storm hit, no power. But we almost went to the Superdome because that's where they told everybody to go. Me and my girl almost went to the Superdome. Could you imagine?
Oh, yeah, the stories you would have had being there. It's crazy because in your experience, you did what you did, right? And then when you watch, like, for example, the Maui fire, which I thought was probably the craziest one.
It was the craziest one, dude.
You get to see, like, how people, they wake up and they're like, oh, my God, it's so windy today.
Yeah, it's a normal day.
But, man, it's windy. And then all of a sudden you turn and you see the
down
smoke.
There. That's crazy.
I mean, there were certain, like that one woman who's literally like at the last minute deciding I probably should go, just sees these old couple run out of their house and like, can you help us? So it's like literally watching the end of the world in real time.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, 6 hours and luckily you found gas. Did you run out of gas in that time? Were you close?
No, we went to, we had a plan to go. There was a fork in the road. It was either go to Texas, Houston way, or go North Mississippi way. Yeah. And so I said, well, which way do we go? And they said, in case it is real bad, we can continue up to Springfield because that's where my girlfriend was from.
Yeah.
So we go, let's go the Mississippi way. So then we had a plan to meet our friends at their parents' house in Mississippi, and we stayed there. And that's where when the storm hit, so there was no power there for a couple of days. And that's already 100 miles away from New Orleans. You know?
Insane.
And then apparently,
did you go through any storms like when you were?
No, because the storm. Once we got to the house, that's when the storm was all hit. But we went in the car. We huddled around and listened to the car radio to hear what was going on in New Orleans, and we just heard all the flooding. And we're like, we're not going to be able to go back. We're homeless. Whatever we have right now is what we have.
Yeah, and that's literally that's exactly what you got from everyone that experienced this.
And after a few days, they cleared the roads and we go, well, let's drive to Springfield and then figure it out from there.
And then he came to work here.
Not quite.
Not quite.
I met some of you guys.
Real stepping stones.
And I said, I'm going to go back to LA for a while, but if I ever come to Springfield, I'll come work for you guys. And look at this.
He realized he went to LA. He's like, this place sucks. Finally got it. And then he came back. It'll be my story next when we come back to Dark Side of the Stream to discuss In the Eye of the Storm on 104.7 The K. .7 The K, Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens in the studio. It is episode 195. This week was Jay's pick In the Eye of the Storm on Max. So Jay got to tell his story about escaping New Orleans during Katrina. I have, being born and raised in the Midwest, a million storm.
Yeah, I bet.
Stories.
This
A
is
million.
way more frequently up here, man.
Yeah, dude. And also the fact that like my family is all from Kansas, mid Kansas, lower Kansas, and they are right there in Tornado Alley as well. So I will let me see the first story I want to tell. Okay. I want to say it was probably 2011, maybe 2010. My family, my mom's side, my mom was still living in Colorado. So my grandparents and my aunt and uncle and a couple of my cousins all decided to all drive out from Kansas City and go stay out there for a week and go to Estes Park, Rocky Mountain National, like do the summer Colorado trip, right, with my mom. And so at the time, I think my grandfather was driving like a Escalade or something like that, one of the bigger SUVs. And we are in the middle of Kansas on I-70. And just like that derecho episode, you could see it's just like a wall across the horizon.
Dude,
and
I had never heard of that
dark.
derecho thing.
Bro,
Wow.
it's so dark. And so as we get closer, and I think we were around Hayes, Waukene, something like that, mid to western Kansas. And I'm looking at this thing, and I was at this point, I want to say I was in the back seat, and my grandfather was driving, and I'm like, hey, we need to pull over. Like, this is not gonna get better. Like, this is looking really bad. And so
it's like that one story in the
well,
they're in the car.
Dude, that storm chaser. We'll get when we talk about these stories, I definitely got something to say about that kid. But yeah, we pulled over because I was like, there's nothing we can do. And again, if you're ever in a situation like this, everyone wants to go to the underpass and go, that's the worst place to be.
Really?
Dude, it's like a wind tunnel. All that wind just sucks you right out. Your best bet is to get in the lowest place you can get to. And if you're in your vehicle, hopefully you got a lot of weight in it. And if not, you will be what, like that footage of the tornado with car lights going around it.
Yes,
that was
insane.
There was people in that car literally about to die. That was crazy. But anyway, so we pull over, and then probably the biggest hailstorm I've ever been in my life. We're talking baseball size, softball size, completely demolished that vehicle.
While
like,
you were in it?
Oh yeah, glass everywhere. My cousins are bawling and screaming, and I'm just like huddled over one of them, and they got my head down. I'm getting just bashed with glass. So it's on a Sunday, right? The storm gets through. I've got this big, because my grandfather's like, I can't drive. I'm like, well, okay, I guess I am. So there's literally a hole through the windshield about the size of a quarter that I could see through.
Oh my gosh.
I drive us into Hayes. We kind of drive around trying to figure out if we can get the windshield fixed. Everything's closed. Everyone's like, you're going to be stuck in town for at least a day, maybe 2 days. Everyone's like, I can drive from here into that. So I drove another 8 hours to Colorado
with the quarter
hole size through the windshield, up on the windshield like this.
Oh my gosh, dude.
To Colorado Springs, all the way. And
wow.
My family, my grandparents were just like, I can't believe you did that. I was like, I wouldn't stay in Case, Kansas, man. If you ever been had to stay in a town like that for a long period of time, there's not enough booze in the world. My second story will probably be one of my earliest memories. I was at my grandparents the night before Easter. I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and in one night, 7 tornadoes.
Oh my gosh, dude!
And what was funny about that is, grandfather, veteran, pilot, not scared of anything. He very interesting dude. Probably one of the first atheists I've ever met in my life, which is crazy that my grandfather was an atheist, but he was a hardcore guy. So we're all in the basement, right? My grandma, my parents, me and my brother, and we're all like, "Where's Grandpa?" And my grandma's like, "He's not coming down." And then so the first one comes through, second one is coming in. My dad goes up there, he comes back down. He's not coming down. So it goes through. Third one.
He was
finally, I think at the third or fourth, they convinced him, like, "Hey, Ray, get your ass in the basement. It's not stopping.
Don't you tell me my business, you devil woman."
Tornadoes in one night. And then, of course, I did weather coverage when the Joplin tornado hit. I was on the air that entire time, so that was nuts. But again, through these stories, it's crazy that you can actually witness this in real time. And that's what we're going to talk about next, that our stories are finally done. Dark Side of the Stream returns in just a few minutes on 104.7. Mike, the intern, Jay Stevens, back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 195. In the Eye of the Storm. So the first episode talks about all the different tornadoes that happened in a very close period of time. It focuses on one kid who's a storm tracer for 2 of the episodes, and he literally gets caught in one, right?
Dude.
Ends up saving some guy, sees some guy who just got annihilated. He's like, my parents got hit. He's like, jump in the car, we'll go save him. Goes over there, they get him out of the house. 2 days later after this, you think that'd be enough for this kid?
Yeah.
No. Now he ropes his friends into going out.
Dude.
And through no fault of their, well, it was their fault because they should have just stopped, but they think at this point that they are going to be able to outrun this tornado, and they don't. And they got basically a electric pole falls in front of them, and then they get caught in this thing. And
Woo.
I mean, that tornado hit that car. It's so lucky there were 4 people in it. I think if there had been 1 or 2 dudes in that car, it'd have been gone. But I had seen that video before. It has made the rounds on like reels and stuff, and that guy just screaming.
Well, that's what I had a problem with that. I had a problem with
bad for that dude.
A couple of these guys
bawling his eyes out,
screaming and crying. If you're in a crisis situation, that you're just exerting energy there, man. You need to focus. Like screaming and crying is not going to save you at all, man. Hold on, focus. Yeah, but
I mean, like, he's dying. He thinks he's dying. Like he's
screaming and crying is not going to stop it. Though.
He was horrified. If you're that scared of storms,
don't go chasing them first.
Bro, you should not be driving the car. What are you thinking? If you're going to go into hysterics like that, the last thing you should be doing is driving around a car trying to chase him.
Yeah.
Crazy thing is even the kid at the end, he's like, "Did I make mistakes?" He still wouldn't admit it. And I was like, "Shave your chin, you moron."
Well, there was a couple of them.
That guy was an idiot.
A couple of these screamer and criers, and it's like, it's not going to save you, man.
Well, but I mean, what are you going to do? You know, and the other thing is the kid who was walking home from his mechanic job at Walmart that literally held on to the door of an insurance place.
Yes, that was
the
nuts
phone's
too.
in his pocket, and you could just see it. The other chick that were at the dentist's office, and you hear her husband say, "Honey, you need to back up off the door."
Yeah.
Next thing she knows, she gets sucked out of the door, and the only thing that saved her
Props
life was her husband.
Props to him for holding on, man.
And she's got the phone recording still, and she's bawling. Like, "You saved my life." Yeah, well, maybe you should listen to him next time he tells you to back up.
That was nuts.
Idiot. The other one, and probably the most, I mean, there are hardcore loss of life, just so many different stories. But of course, the Maui fire was just
intense. I watched that one first. I went through and saw the 3, and I go, I'm watching the Maui one first.
Dude, the thing that kept coming into my mind was like, this is exactly how, like, I got a chance to see the Pompeii exhibition, the Mount Vesuvius eruption that basically just covered an entire town. And then, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Frozen in place.
When we went, I think it was in Chicago, at the Natural History Museum is where we saw the exhibition, which was just incredible, especially for me. They put you in this room that kind of like went through the time by time and how this all happened. Like there were earthquakes, then the eruption, then everyone's like, "Oh, wait a minute, this stuff's starting to fall from the sky. We need to get the hell out of here." Watching this Maui thing unfold was just like, in my opinion, I kept thinking about that this is exactly what those people went through. It was like, "Oh, we're going to the store. God, it sure is
windy.
What the hell's going on?
This wind's getting intense.
Smoky? Why is it so hazy out here?" And then literally within 2 hours, your entire life is up in smoke.
Running for your life,
and
jumping in the ocean, dude with his cell phone still going in the ocean.
Him and his family just sitting in that canal. Ooh. And then that one guy who was the caretaker of the animal shelter, he's like literally just walking the beach fence, and he's finding bodies and waking people up,
dude.
That are just passing out from. Oh my god, it's just
burns and smoke.
Like I said, we got a chance to basically watch Armageddon, and that it was scary.
Yeah, it's almost like Blair Witch Project,
dude,
like,
Dude, oh man, it was gut wrenching. I didn't know what to think going into this documentary because I was like, oh. It was intense. It was
good. It was really good. Easy watch too.
Yeah,
easy
for
watch.
Sure. We'll be back with our reviews on it next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The K. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. It's Dark Side of the Stream, episode 195 this week in the Eye of the Storm on Max. How many broken cell phones would you give this documentary?
I'll go 4.5.
Okay.
Almost perfect score. Not quite. I do wish one complaint I had was the knock on the Hawaii one. Whoever did the translation, because that
I was not even expecting you to come out with that
because some of the cops and stuff, they speak, it's called pidgin, right? It's kind of like a blend, a slang, and some of
it's like the Jamaican dialect.
Some of the typed words were not what he was saying. That bugged me because I knew what he was saying because that's where I'm from, So
say something in pidgin then.
Huh?
Say something in pidgin.
Hey, brother, we go find him. That would be a cop saying, "Hey, dude, let's go find those
What you
guys."
said. Give me something.
Yeah.
Give me something I would.
Well, he said something like, "Uncle, you get one lock," or "Uncle, you get one saw," and stuff like that. It wasn't the words weren't matching up with what he says.
When he was trying to wake them up.
The fence. Remember they had
when they were that was
the
crazy.
fence was locked.
When they were the cops with the body camera.
Uncle, you get one saw.
Yeah, well, all those cars were trying to get out and they were gated in, and he was like, "I'm gonna ram it." So you see him. I mean, he's going so fast, grabs the tow cable, and right as he's about to pull it with his truck, thank God it wasn't a cyber truck, FYI. Because it would have just fallen apart in a heartbeat. Looking at you, Elon. But they love the trucks, by the way. That guy comes out with bolt cutters in no time.
Yeah.
It was just saved the day. God, that was crazy. I'd definitely give it a 4.5, if not a 5. I thought, like, for the most part, it was just unbelievable.
It was
carnage.
intense and great. It's like being there, It's like it'll give you goosebumps because you're literally the cell phone footage is there, man.
You're on the ride. Next week for our Dark Side of the Stream episode 196, we will go through all 4 episodes of the newest season of Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix.
And another one, huh?
Yeah, there's only 4 though, I think 4 or 5. But you'll be interested because there's one about Jack the Ripper, which is definitely interesting, and there's one about the Mothman. So I know you like the conspiracies. There's also
I love these things.
There were 2 that were very weird. One that I thought was heartbreaking because it's just, I think, one of those situations where it's just a horrible, horrible accident. But anyway, I'll let you figure it out yourself. Right. We've got a week to do that. Watch us do this live on Facebook or YouTube every Thursday at 9 a.m. You can listen to it during my show at that time or Jay's show at 6 p.m. or as always, as a free podcast on our 104.7 The Cave app. I am Mike the Intern. That's Jay Stevens. Reminding you, we watch movies,
documentaries,
so you don't have to. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.